لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Do not move your tongue with it to hasten with recitation of the Qur'an. لا تحرك. This addresses to the Prophet ﷺ, that do not move. تحرك is from حركة. تحريك. تحريك is to move something, to set something in motion. So do not move bihi with it. With what? With the revelation, with the Qur'an being revealed to you. Meaning as Jibreel is bringing the Qur'an to you, as he is reading it to you, as he is revealing it to you, then do not move lisanaka, your tongue, with it, lita'jala bih, to hasten with it. Meaning in order to hasten the recitation of the Qur'an. Lita'jala is from ujla, and ujla is to make haste where one must not be hasty. It is to try to do something before its right time. So it is to make haste where one should not be hasty. Like for example, we should be quick in doing good things. For example, when the time of salah comes, be quick and pray. Meaning don't delay unnecessarily. However, if a person prays even before the time comes, is that good? No, that's not good. So, ujla is not something good. It's a negative thing. So, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Abdullah ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu, he said that when the Qur'an was being revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, he would start repeating the words of the revelation rapidly. As it was being revealed to him, he would start repeating them, he would start reciting the words rapidly, quickly, as the angel Jibreel recited them. Why? Fearing lest he should forget some part of it later. So he wanted to repeat them to make sure he wouldn't forget it later. Thereupon he was instructed that لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. As the wahi was coming, he would start reciting at the same time. Why? To make sure he would not forget it. Now, if you think about it, while the Qur'an is being recited, what's the proper etiquette? That we should be silent and we should listen to it attentively. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنِ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. Why? Because the first step to learning something is listening. And when you're listening, you must pay full attention. Because it's the first step. If you haven't listened attentively, then you cannot do anything else after that properly either. Because when you have listened, then you will remember later. Then you will understand. So basically, listening is a task which while you're doing, you cannot multitask. Meaning you can't listen and do other things at the same time. If you're doing other things at the same time, then what will happen? You will miss out on something. You may have noticed, for example, you're listening to a lecture, and as you're cooking or cleaning or doing whatever, all of a sudden, you're lost in your thoughts. All of a sudden, you go to the other room and you miss out on even one point. And one point that was missed, by the time you come back, you cannot make the connection. Or because you missed that one point, that's why you missed the entire discussion. So, listening is something which requires full concentration, full attention. Because of this reason, the Prophet ﷺ was told, don't even move your tongue when the Qur'an is being recited to you. Don't even start reciting at the same time. Because the process of learning is such that it requires utmost concentration from a person. If you do not concentrate, you cannot get, you cannot receive, you cannot understand. Therefore, do not move your tongue at the same time. The same thing is mentioned in Surah Taha as well, in ayah 114. وَلَا تَعْجَلْ بِالْقُرْآنِ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يُقْضَى إِلَيْكَ وَحْيُهُ. That do not hasten with recitation of the Qur'an before its revelation is completed to you. Once it's completed, then you may recite yourself. And also remember that reading at the same time while the Qur'an is being recited, this is in a way disrespectful as well. Because what's the proper etiquette? What's the proper etiquette? That you be quiet and you listen. If a person starts reading at the same time, repeating at the same time, it's not proper etiquette. For example, you're telling somebody about something and they start repeating your words. Is it respectful? It's not respectful at all. You're talking to someone and they're repeating the same words again and again. It's not respectful at all. Similarly, for the purpose of understanding, for the purpose of memorization, you have to listen. You cannot start talking at the same time. You cannot start repeating the words at the same time. For fahm, for hifz, you have to pay attention and listen first. Now, although this command is for the Prophet ﷺ, but there is a great lesson in this for us. And what is that lesson? Listen attentively. That when the Qur'an is being recited, when something important is being taught, then at that time a person's entire focus should be on what? Listening. That the reason why the Prophet ﷺ did this was because he was very careful. He didn't want to forget anything. He didn't want to lose anything. And this also shows to us that a person must be greedy for knowledge. He must be greedy for knowledge. He must have that desire, because only when you have the desire, then you'll be able to grasp. But for that also, the proper way has to be adopted. Now similarly, when you are practicing tajweed, for example, and the teacher is reciting, then what should you do at the same time? You should focus on listening, not reading. Because sometimes we like reciting along with the teacher. Why? Because we want to make our tone like hers or his, and we want to recite as beautifully as them, to develop the same tune. However, at that time what is necessary? That we must listen. Because if you listen, then you'll understand, and then you'll be able to repeat properly. Then you'll be able to notice the fine details. If you don't listen at that time, you'll miss out on those fine details. So this is something very important. In order to grasp the message, in order to grasp the lesson, you have to listen. Allah says, "Inna alayna jam'ahu wa Qur'ana." Indeed, upon us is its collection and also its recitation. Meaning, it is our responsibility, it is our duty to do the jamr of the Qur'an and the Qur'an of the Qur'an. What does it mean by that? Jamr of the Qur'an. Jamr meaning to bring it together in your heart so that you don't forget it afterwards. He would recite along with the wahi to make sure he wouldn't forget. Allah says it's our responsibility to make sure the Qur'an is brought together, it is collected together in your heart, and nothing of it is forgotten, nothing is misunderstood, nothing is hidden of its meanings. And also, it is our responsibility of its Qur'an. Qur'an means Qur'an as an ism alam. However, over here, Qur'an is being used as a masdar in its literal meaning. And what does Qur'an mean over here? Recitation. So it's our responsibility to ensure its proper recitation as well. That you do not make errors when you recite it later. It is our responsibility to make sure that it flows correctly from your tongue later. So don't start reciting now. We will make sure that you recite properly later. Because Allah Himself has taken the responsibility of preserving the Qur'an. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. And part of that was to make sure the Prophet ﷺ received the Qur'an and understood the Qur'an properly. In Surah Al-A'la, ayah 6 to 7, we learn, سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ. We will make you recite and you will not forget, except what Allah should will. So therefore, when the Qur'an is being recited, focus on the listening. What's the lesson in this? That while a person is learning, he should give the haqq of learning. When a person is learning, he should give the haqq of learning, and then later, if he forgets something, if he misses out on something, then Allah knows about that. Allah knows about that. So, whatever is going on at a particular time, whatever must be done at a particular time, a person must focus on that. A person must focus on that. He should not be worried about the things that he is missing out on because of his inability or because of the time that he has or because of whatever reason. Rather, he should focus on whatever he can do at that time. Like, for example, when the class is going on, what are you required to do? Listen and take notes. Now, if, for example, you say that, no, I want to make sure I get everything down. Therefore, I'm not going to listen to class. However, I'm going to take the recording. And when I start listening to the recording, I'm going to make sure I write everything down. Now, the 2-hour lecture will turn into how much for you if you make sure you're writing everything down? 4 hours perhaps. Because you're pausing, stopping, reminding. That happens with me at least when I'm preparing for my class. an hour-long lecture will take 3 hours to listen to make proper notes. So if a person starts doing that, things will become very difficult for him. And then he cannot focus on what is being done at the moment. So the lesson here is that whatever is being done at the moment, give it your best. And then, if something is left out, inshallah, Allah will teach that to you as well. So don't panic. Don't get worried. Concentrate, give it your best, but if something does get left out, then don't start talking amongst yourselves that what was the reference of the ayah and what was that hadith. Because if you will do that, then what will happen? You will miss out on the next point. And you will make other people miss out on more as well. So, a person must focus on what? On whatever is being done at the moment. Similarly, when class is going on, what should a person do? He should be in class. Not that at that time he's doing other things. For example, sometimes people say, I'll skip my tajweed class, I'll go to the cafeteria, I'll go over this assignment and finish it. Or for example, I will practice my lesson because we have to do it in groups, but I haven't done it. The thing is that if you skip your tajweed class and go do something else at that time, then what will happen? Do you think you're going to practice tajweed later? I don't think so. I don't think so. Similarly, if a person says, okay, let me just leave out this half an hour from the class and I will listen to the recordings later. Tell me, how many times have you said to yourself, I'll listen to the recordings later, and really every time you've been able to do that? Not every time. Perhaps most of the time, perhaps sometimes, but not every time. So whatever chance you have now, avail it. Don't leave it for later. Sometimes it happens that the recording, it may not be accessible to you, or something happens and it was not recorded properly, so you've lost that chance. So do your best at the time when you're supposed to do your work, and leave the rest to Allah. Don't panic. And if you give it your best, Allah will teach you. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Fear Allah and Allah will also teach you. But if you don't fear Allah and start doing other things at the same time, then you will be deprived. Sometimes it's possible that we're listening online and because of, whatever reason, there are a lot of interruptions or something is, missed out. The broadcast is not that good that day, so you end up missing on a few things. Now, some things that are not there, you don't get to listen to them. Don't panic over them and start messaging everybody. What's going on? Do you hear? I have no voice. Do you hear? I have no voice. Because what's going to happen? Whatever is coming, you lose that as well. So don't panic. Pay attention. Do you get it? Don't panic. Pay attention. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ. So when we have recited it, فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. Then follow its recitation. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ. When we have recited it, meaning once the recitation is complete, once the revelation is complete, then what should you do? فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. Then follow its recitation. Meaning, follow what has been recited to you. Don't just be concerned about grasping and learning, but also be concerned about amal. Also be concerned about doing what you have to do. فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. Follow it. And فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ also means follow its recitation, meaning repeat it afterwards. Then recite it afterwards. So this shows that once a person has listened to a lesson, once a person has taken a lesson, attended a lesson, then what should they do? Revise afterwards. Because if you don't revise, then what will happen? You will forget. This is one of the best ways of learning the Qur'an, that first of all, listen. Listen first. Don't talk at the same time. Don't start repeating at the same time. And then secondly, revise afterwards. Repeat and then revise. If you don't revise, you will forget. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. Because the Qur'an is a book of guidance. And it's a book that is to be understood, not just memorized, not just recited. ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانَهُ. Then indeed upon us is its clarification. Meaning it is our duty to make it clear to you. Bayan is to clarify something. So just as it is our responsibility to make sure you grasp it, you learn it, you memorize it, you don't forget it, similarly it's our responsibility to make sure you understand it as well. So the Prophet ﷺ was not just taught the words of the Qur'an, but he was also taught the bayan, the understanding, the clarification of the Qur'an. And what does that mean? How to act on the Qur'an. So فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. How? Allah will teach you that as well. Don't panic, Allah will teach you that as well. We learn in Surah Al-Nahl, ayah 44, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. So the Prophet ﷺ was taught not just the Qur'an, but also how to implement the Qur'an. So for example, various commands are given, but they're detailed. It's not found in the Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught that to the Prophet ﷺ. Through who? Through the angel Jibreel. Through wahi that is غير matlu, that is not recited. So this is also from who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recitation.
لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه ثم إن علينا بيانه.
You see over here, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Don't move your tongue as though moving your tongue quickly. This also shows to us that a person should be calm and should be not hasty when it comes to learning. He should not be impatient. Sometimes what we want is that within 15 minutes, within 10 minutes, we should be able to do everything. No. The process of learning takes time. You have to spend time listening. You have to spend time reading. You have to spend time revising and repeating and reflecting. Only then you'll be able to learn. This is why we see that when it comes to the recitation of the Qur'an, we have been prohibited from reciting it in less than 3 days. Because a person who reads it in less than 3 days, I told you that hadith, what does it say? That a person is not understood. He is not understood. So the process of learning takes time. So a person must not be hasty, he must not panic, rather he should calm down, he should relax. It doesn't mean he should slow down, but rather give every step its haqq and follow the right order. You have to give all of yourself, your time, your patience, your energy, and then you'll be able to get something out of it. And if you give little expecting a lot, that's not real knowledge. That may be a lot of information, but it has not really sunk in. And if it has not sunk in, it will not come out in actions either. We listen to the recitation again.
لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه